All right, guys, welcome. Welcome. Thank you guys for joining me. I wanted to spend a little bit of time going through my weekly email and how I set it all up. This is the one thing that I do consistently in my business to generate consistent business. And it's a pretty simple process. Drop a one in the chat if you're currently using a weekly email so that we can kind of see who is using one currently. So the goal is to share with you guys some of the strategies, how I lay it out, how I set it all up, some of the things that I'm including, some of the things that I'm not including, some of the things through the history of how I've set it up that I found is important, some tips and some strategies that I'm using that get me some pretty high open rates. And I kind of made a few slides. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll go ahead and get started on those. All right. So I will be sharing this on YouTube too, so that we can kind of go back and share it with a friend who may have missed this particular Zoom meeting. But definitely the title is Loving on Your Clients Through a Weekly Email. So why should I do it? If we have business that's erratic or unpredictable, I believe that what we do consistently in our business generates us consistent business, and consistent actions leads to consistent results. Do you think that if your clients heard from you more consistently that this would help or hurt your business? Put your answer in the chat for me. If you think that your clients heard from you more consistently, would this make an impact in your business? Would it help or hurt your business? So the question I get a lot is, should I send it once a week? And what's the difference between sending it once a week, sending it once a month, sending it once a quarter? I feel like when we get into the mode of sending it once a week, we get into a mode where our potential clients, our past clients, our friends, they get to where they expect it, right? Like just when people get into the habit of, I guess in the old days, walk out and go get the newspaper every morning. My clients are waking up early, checking their Wednesday morning weekly email from me, and they've gotten into the habit of checking it on Wednesday morning. So I'm getting the same people checking it about the same kind of times, because I can go back and look at the analytics and be able to see that. So I think once a week is super important, because when we're doing it once a week, we're creating that weekly consistent email. And I tried it more on the monthly, and I feel like sometimes I did it early in the month, sometimes I did it later in the month, and it just wasn't super consistent for me. So my plan is once a week. You guys set it up however you want to set it up. This is basically a quick little screenshot of my weekly email. As you can see right here on the top, I have a static header, which I'm going to, in the next slide, show you a little bit about how that works. I have a changeable header here that I change every week. I have the body of my email here, and I also include a couple things in my email, which I'll go through on the next slides. So what should I include in my weekly email? Again, you guys set it up however you want to set it up. I like to set it up with a simple static header on the top of the email. This is about an 800 to 100 pixel size, and I created this in Canva, and this is a static thing that doesn't change in my weekly email. I have more of an informational header, which basically changes every week. And I, again, just keep it the same size. And I have an open Canva file that I change once a week. So I do something creative. This was my last week's with the Festival International. And I just kind of do a creative little pop there to get them knowing what I'm going to be talking about in the weekly email. And I basically just changed this one thing about my weekly email. I changed the email body. So all I do is I will change a couple of paragraphs in here. And I think the key is to have it be personally written, and it has to sound like Jamie. It can't sound like ChatGPT. It can't sound like AI. It can't sound like somebody who might be assisting me with these things. It's got to sound like Jamie. So this is my chance that I can speak to my past clients once a week and share something cool about our community that's going on. So another couple things that I like to include. I'll have you mute, I guess, if you don't mind, for me. Also, a couple things that I like to include is I like to include the mortgage interest rates. And this is a screenshot that I pull from a site called Mortgage Rates Daily. You can pull it from whatever site you want to pull it from. I feel like people like to check the interest rates. I feel like that's a hot topic right now. People are curious about that, and those have been dropping recently. So it's been exciting for them to check it. I also like to include my contact information, which this again stays static every week. And it has little spots that you can click for your social links and whatnot, to where you can click on and see my other things that I'm doing on YouTube, or follow me on some of these other platforms. And then also, I like to include my company information on the bottom, which has links to, for me, like as a real agent, I like to put my join link right here. So if somebody, an agent, would be following my weekly email, which I actually have quite a few agents who follow my weekly email, and they can, find out more information about Real potentially. So the platforms that I actually use Constant Contact, and I know a lot of people use MailChimp, and there are a lot of people who use Flowdesk, but you can use any mail platform that you want. And it just comes down to usability and cost, I think, as far as like which one you choose. I believe all of them give you some analytics that you can go back there and see who's opening your emails, when are they opening them, and see who unsubscribed, or that kind of thing. So I like using an email platform versus using just like a Gmail account, because I feel like somebody can unsubscribe. Also, I feel like it gives me a way that I can really make it look the way that I want to make it look, and just give them a quick message. So choose your own platform, but I use Constant Contact. So the key to this thing is providing value. So I like to think about, what would my sphere value in my email, or what would they value, or what would they want to hear from me about? So I like to highlight things that are like happening in our community, things that would affect their lives, local interest. I like to do restaurant highlights and gift card giveaways from those local restaurants. I like to do market updates. Email gives us the chance to kind of go one to many. So, while I like to make telephone calls, I think that this email strategy is something that I've been able to speak to people weekly, and I've had a lot of success with it. So does it always have to be about real estate? I like to include real estate in my weekly email sometimes, just as a hey, I'm a realtor and don't forget. But I don't necessarily put out my new listings. I don't necessarily do all those things. I don't think it's a bad thing. I just try to make it very informational and something that they would grab value from. And I'm not thinking they're on my weekly email for more than 1 or 2 minutes. It's more like, hey, let me see what Jamie has to say this week, and let me just move on with my life. So it's not life changing, but it's just a quick pop that people are reading from me. It's kind of like a Facebook post or something. They're going to see a content from me. But what I do like is that I can control this effort, right? With social media, things get banned, things get, you lose access to certain things. You never know what the algorithm is showing to your people. So a weekly email puts you in control of who sees what and who sees what when. So I think it's important to not outsource this one. This is your message to your people. And, it's not something that you're going to want to put in Chat GPT or in AI. This is your message. Even if it doesn't sound perfect, I always say I'm not trying to go for perfection. I'm trying to go for connection. So that's my strategy and my goal with it. I wanted to highlight a little bit about the restaurants as well, because I think these restaurant highlights people really dig. So this is an example of one that I went to Laura's too. and I snapped a few photos of the food when we were there. And I took a client actually to that lunch. So I like to take a client out to lunch. I always say I buy lunches, not leads. I usually grab a $25 gift card for my drawing that week. I share a few photos of what I ate, and I say, hey, reply with the word taco or with the word whatever to be entered to be in our drawing for a $25 gift card to that restaurant. So what I do is I take all of those names and then I put them into like a little app that spins with a wheel. A lot of times I'll snap a screenshot of who won the gift card from the previous week. But the messaging and the reply that they're, let's just say they reply with the word taco, that that messaging allows me to get into a dialogue, into a conversation with the person that is engaging with me on my weekly email. And depending on, the time of year, I might be like, hey, how are you guys, went to any parades for Mardi Gras, or how was Christmas? Did Santa Claus bring you guys something cool to the house or whatever? So it gives me a chance to kind of get into an email dialogue. I'll say, hey, got you in the drawing, and by the way, how's the kids, or whatever it is. So that's important, I think. The thing that I think that is probably the most important thing, and it's the way that I'm getting my really high open rates, is coming up with a creative title. I think that people are more likely to engage with a creative title that sparks some curiosity. And using questions or statements that make the client like just want to know, like, what am I talking about? Like, that's the thing that I think gets people to like open my email. So, I mean, as you can see right here, I'm getting around a 47% open rate on 3,500 contacts. And I'm also growing my contact rate pretty well too, because I tend to, everybody I have a conversation with, this is my platform that I add them to it. I just add them to my weekly email and know that they're getting served through my weekly email. So, an emoji as the first character in the email. I think this is super important for me. As you can see over here, I use an emoji as the first character in my weekly email. This is just a night head chess piece that I found that was an emoji. And as you can see, like when you look in the inbox, the emoji just like stands out relative to the other emails that people have in their email box. So I think why this is important is, even if you don't get the open on the email, you still get the impression that they're seeing that little night chess piece, and maybe they don't have time to open up my email, but they know that Jamie's working today, which I think that that's important, right? They know that I'm putting in work. They know that I'm consistent and I'm consistently doing things consistently in my business, and that I am a full-time realtor. That is super important to me, that my clients know that I'm open and that I am working, and they can expect an email from me at the same time and the same day every week. And that's why I don't make it super complicated as far as like coming up with this amazing email that has flow charts and all these different things that's super long and super detailed. I just want to do something that I can execute on every week. And that's what's important to me. So, how I'm finding these emojis, and you can go to whatever emoji platform you want to use, but I have liked this Emojipedia website right here. So, you go to Emojipedia, you search for anything you want to search for as far as a character, and you pick your own. But my advice is not to pick a key or a house, because I just feel like that's like overdone, especially in the real estate world. I think you use something that's very positive, and that's something that maybe gives a little connection to like your personality, right? Or your last name. Like for me, the night chess piece was easy because it's, Jamie Knight. So it just made it super easy. So you find something you like, you copy it, you paste it as the first character, and then you leave it in place for your weekly email. So all I do is I change the title every week, but I don't change out the emoji. That stays there every week. So, you know, the weekly email is plug and play, right? It gives you like a plug and play platform that allows you to quickly plug in emails that you know will then add value to them over the long term, right? So I may be talking to someone at an open house. Okay, great. We had a great connection. And so what I'll do is I'll add them into my weekly email. And it's just a simple, easy way for me to add them. For example, I met a couple at an open house nearly a year ago, and we had a great conversation. And I got their email and I asked if it'd be okay if I kept up with them weekly. And they said, absolutely, for sure. So all I did, really nothing else to that point, was add them to my weekly email. And it just nurtured them through the process. It just kept sending them weekly emails. So 10 months later, I get a call and said, hey, Jamie, thanks so much for keeping up with us. We so excited. We just reached out to a lender. We're pre-qualified. We're ready to go. And we are excited to start our home purchase. So that's how a weekly email works, right? It nurtures them over the long term. And then when they're ready, they raise their hand. They say, hey, I'm ready to buy. I'm ready to sell. I'm ready to do something. So that's the benefit of it, but you don't get the benefit of it if you're not doing it consistently. The reason I got the opportunity is because they had a great conversation and relationship with me, and they thought maybe I was somebody that they wanted to work with at the open house. And then they were followed up with weekly for 10 months. And then when they were ready to go, they were hot and ready to roll. And I even went back and looked at the analytics. They were opening up my weekly email every single week. So I thought that was definitely valuable information to take somebody from good feeling at the open house to now we're ready to do business together. And we're actually active. We're looking at houses right now. So, and they're looking up to 500,000. So a great buyer. So bonus tip, another way to regularly reach your people with value that they are interested in is to set up those same people that you're adding to your weekly email into an MLS prospect search. Now, this could be, just something that they might have said they were interested in at the open house, or maybe it was something similar to the property that they toured. This is a great way to feed them with some valuable information and really become their realtor. So that's something that, don't forget, weekly email and MLS prospect search. And that's going to give you that consistency in reach out to these people. So if you don't do anything else in your business and you don't make phone calls, you don't post on social media, these two things will actually feed clients to you warm, ready to go. If you did nothing else, you just did this, it would definitely still work, I think. So guys, I have a 50 email titles and ideas that I have come up with. And if you scan this QR code, it'll bring you to a page that you can print out and leave it on your desk if you want. 50 ideas and strategies that I have for a weekly email. And I know it can be hard to come up with ideas every week. So take a screenshot of that and save that. You can actually go and join my weekly email on that same link as well. I don't care. I have tons of agents who are on my weekly email. I am definitely willing to share that information with anyone. So that do that for sure. So yeah, just that's the end. We're going to open it up for any questions. If you guys want to unmute and ask a question about how I'm setting any of this up, would be glad to kind of, answer anything for you guys.